Hand tools in woodworking are an extension of the woodcrafter's hands. Even though some hand tools may be powered by electricity, their effectiveness and finesse at shaping, bonding, and smoothing your wood-borne masterpiece comes from your muscles. Like the wide variety of delicately designed brushes in the pocket of an accomplished painter, your finished work will emanate all the beauty, resiliency, and usefulness that you put into it with the right tools. With that in mind, let's explore the top 20 woodworking hand tools that will help you create works of wonder and utility to rival the greatest artists. The most commonly purchased claw hammer is the 20-ounce size. It's heavy enough to easily drive nails, but easily manipulated when pulling nails. While wooden handles are picturesque, they may not stand up to the strain if you have to pull a lot of nails. Hammers with steel handle or even fiberglass will be stronger. However, these won't absorb the vibrations from driving nails the way a hickory handle will. You also need to make sure the fiberglass and metal handles have a rubberized grip for control and comfort. If you're going to be driving a lot of nails, the wooden handle hammer will be better for reducing stress on your hand and wrists too. The next important hand tool for every woodworker is an accurate tape measurer. Get a retractable one that is at least 25 feet long. A good utility knife is another asset for the woodworker. There are many different kinds, but the kind that uses disposable blades is the most common. The blade retracts into the grip for safety. The woodworker will use the utility knife when cleaning out mortise joints or to scribe wood, as well as many other uses. A quality wood moisture meter is vital to the long-term success of any woodworking project you put together. The success of your woodworking project, from wood flooring to kitchen cabinets to fine furniture, depends on the correct moisture content levels of the woods you use in the area of the country. Your moisture meter should have settings on it that will account for different species of the wood. For instance, oak is a hardwood, but ebony is an even harder density wood. If you are planning an inlay job using both types of wood, you'll need to know the moisture content levels of each of the two species so that your inlay glue joints will stay intact. These different wood species have different specific gravities, which must be programmed into the wood moisture meter. Make sure to measure each species of wood you are using in your woodworking project to verify that they are the correct moisture content before you manufacture it into your end product. An assortment of chisels should be part of every workbench. Chisels are not just for wood carvers. Any woodworker will need chisels to clean out joints and saw cuts. Look for chisels made of high alloy carbon steel or chromium vanadium alloyed steel. Hardwood grips are best, especially if they have metal caps on them. This will keep the end of the handle from becoming malformed when you hammer on it. And watch for those fingers. Every woodworker needs a couple of levels. You probably won't need one of the 6-foot levels used in construction, but a 48-inch is a good length for many of the woodworking projects you'll do. You'll need an 8-inch level as well, usually known as a torpedo level. You'll check the level and the plumb of your construction. Level means horizontal and plumb is vertical. Screwdrivers are another must-have in the woodworker's set of hand tools. Not only will you need a Phillips and a slot or flathead screwdrivers, you'll need star drivers and torque drivers too. Quality construction is vital to a good set of screwdrivers. So many of them are made out of soft metal, and the first time you put any oomph behind them, they strip out, becoming absolutely useless. The next hand tool every woodworker should have is a nail set. In fact, you should have several sizes. They look like awls, and you use them to drive nail heads into the wood so they are flush or right below the surface. This allows you to fill the holes and prepare for staining or painting. The nail setter will usually have either a convex or concave surface to grip the nail better and keep it from sliding off and marring the wood. If you're going to be measuring a bunch of angles, a sliding bevel or T-bevel will be a handy tool. This is adjustable and you can lock it at the angle you want to mark, making it much more time-savvy to mark multiple angles. A layout square or combination square comes in 6 or 12-inch sizes. Most woodworkers use the 6-inch model simply because it's the easiest to carry around. Also, most of the stock you will use will be no bigger than 6 inches wide, so 12 inches is overkill. The layout square is a triangle that you can use to mark square cuts on a stock. Once you measure the length of the cut, you line up the layout square with the edge of the board. The short side will give you the straight square cut across the end grain. You can also measure off angles with the layout square. This helps when you're trying to measure for a bevel on a table saw or making a cut for a miter saw. You can even use your layout square to determine the existing angle. Just be sure to buy one made of metal. The plastic ones are not only fragile, but they can also warp, making them pretty useless. Have you ever been tired of sanding that darn piece of wood flat, but just can't get it right? A block plane is a key to versatility in your woodwork. You can flatten a piece of wood, add a curve to it, or square your work. Shape or chamfer your stock using a block plane. Once you have a piece dovetailed, you can smooth the joint with your block plane rather than spend endless time sanding. Your plane can ease the edges of the piece, taking the sharpness out of it. A set of calipers is a must for fine-tuning your woodworking projects. You can even get digital calipers now that leave no guesswork as to whether you are inside or outside the line. Of course, the metal ones are always recommended over those plastic ones, even though the plastic ones are cheaper. Calipers have a double F appearance. To one side is a large F used to measure the outside of the object. To the other side will be a smaller F used to measure the inside of openings. You loosen the screw to move the lower lip of the caliper and then tighten the screw into place when you have the caliper placed correctly. Watch those fingers. Jigs! You don't have to measure every single cut and joint if you have jigs. Most woodworkers make their own jigs. You usually use a jig with a power tool to guide the piece through the saw. You can make a jig that you can use to cut a perfect circle. Maybe you need to make furniture with tapered legs. A jig will accomplish this. Without the hassle of remarking the angles on each leg, a dovetail jig does just that. It guides your wood as you make dovetail joints. Clamps are vital to the success of any woodworking project. Most woodworkers agree that you can't have too many clamps. While they can get expensive, you don't want to skimp in this area. You'll need clamps for 45 and 90-degree angles and pipe clamps to reach for long stretches. A high-quality handsaw should not be overlooked. In fact, a select collection of handsaws may be one of the most valuable additions to your woodworking shop. You don't have to use a power saw on everything. In fact, you probably won't want to. You need to be able to feel the wood's response under the saw blade and the saw blade's response to the wood. Besides a coping and tenon saw, you might want a dovetail saw and a hand miter saw too. In fact, for many woodworkers, a fine collection of Japanese saws is the backbone of their craft. For general use, start out with a fret saw for woodworkers. It's like a coping saw for wood. You need a mini saw too for areas in which a chisel just won't work. Then a good tenon saw should follow, along with a miter box that you can use with the tenon saw. Other saws, with their variety of cutting surfaces and angles, will come as the need arises. Feather boards are important for achieving smooth, quality cuts. You'll use a feather board with all kinds of saws and other cutting surfaces to push the material past the cutting edge. You can make your own feather boards or purchase them instead. Most woodworkers find it easier to just make them so they suit their own needs. No, you're not looking for buried treasure with your metal detector. You're looking for something that could ruin your treasures, namely your woodworking tools. It is of vital importance to keep metal out of your cutting surfaces, or you'll ruin blades, bits, and knives on your tools. A quick scan with a metal detector will let you know if there's a piece of screw or nail still lodged in your stock. You'll find out anyway. It's just nice to know before you ruin your tools. Sawhorses, of course, are natural in any woodworking shop or construction site. There are actually patterns available that you can use to build your own stacking sawhorses. If you build your own sawhorses properly, they'll hold up to 500 pounds apiece. They're even fairly cheap to build. Your sawhorses will serve countless uses around your shop, from providing backup as you saw and drill to extending your work surface while you're using power saws. You'll need a workbench or work table in your shop. Don't try to be noble and make do with the table for your table saw. It won't be big enough or stable enough, and your saw will get in the way. You can get patterns for your workbenches too, just like the sawhorses. Your workbench can be portable on retracting or locking casters, or it can be fixed. It can be however you want it. There aren't any rules about measurements since workbenches are usually based. Tool storage is totally up to your own personal style. Some people are just messy and leave things piled around. They simply remember that they left the moisture meter on the router table. However, think about your organizational styles. You may want to build locking cabinets or open shelves. Many woodworkers display fasteners in mason jars that they twist into lids that they've nailed to the overhead board. Others have spent too many hours picking up fasteners out of the shattered remains of the mason jars, and they don't like that method. That covers all 20 of the top hand tools that every woodworker should aim to have in their shop. Continue the Top 40 series and watch our next video to learn about the top woodworking power tools. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.